Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to unpack a really profound philosophical paradigm shift regarding our understanding of the universe and, well, our place within it. We'll be looking at a totally fascinating framework derived from the NSK theory, which, by the way, stands for nothing, shell, core in its original German context. And we're going to explore how its really complex physical models are being translated into a highly accessible, totally grounded belief system.
So let's just dive right into this by acknowledging a pretty deep human reality. Most of us absolutely crave a structured narrative, some kind of belief system, just to find peace and reduce the crazy complexity of a chaotic world. The source material points out a fundamental psychological truth here. Human beings are evolutionarily wired to prioritize social cohesion, emotional security, and quick decision-making. We almost always prefer a familiar, easy-to-digest narrative over an overwhelmingly complex scientific reality. Traditional myths and narratives give us a sense of control and belonging, even if they leave massive logical gaps entirely unexplained.
In fact, it's estimated that a mere 1% of the population can truly grasp the raw, mathematically complex physics of the universe's inner workings. The source suggests that diving into the actual theory of everything, like the deepest level of how the universe structures itself from absolute nothingness, requires just an immense amount of cognitive effort, discipline, and a real willingness to step outside of your emotional comfort zone. Honestly, it's incredibly taxing. So for the other 99% of us, interacting with that raw data every single day just isn't practical. Which brings us to Section 1, belief as a currency. Think of it like a programmer using a computer. They don't need to understand the atomic structure of the silicon just to write brilliant software, right? Society needs a functional currency of belief to operate smoothly, basically an interface that makes this incredibly complex universe navigable. Traditional religions are kind of like fiat paper money. They only hold value because of collective agreement, authority, and, well, unquestionable mysteries. But the proposed NSK belief system acts more like a gold-backed currency. On the surface, it's a simple, narrative belief system that anyone can use in their daily life for orientation and meaning. But crucially, it is fully backed by hard science. If you ever doubt it, you can basically cash in your belief, and the experts, the theoretical physicists and philosophers, can explain the exact, logical, physical mechanics all the way down to the absolute bottom. So there are no unquestionable mysteries here. None. While the NSK belief system provides a really accessible narrative for daily life, it never relies on dogma. It doesn't ask you to just, have faith in a magical event. Instead, it invites you to marvel at the sheer beauty of the universe's emergence. And it actually allows you to ask questions as deeply as you want, knowing for a fact that there is a logical, accessible explanation waiting for you at every single level. Moving right along to Section 2, let's look at the NSK Glaube doctrine. If we're replacing unexplainable myths with a gold-backed narrative, what are the actual pillars of this new creed? Well, these 5 elegant tenets pretty much explain it all. First off, everything emerges from an infinitely fine, constantly running underlying process. Second, from those simple structures, highly complex structures build recursively. Third, infinite solar systems just form naturally in available space. Fourth, our solar system is just one of these. Similar to others, sure, but unique. And finally, number 5, wherever conditions allow, intelligent life emerges through evolution, becoming more and more complex as the environment demands. It's a complete, awe-inspiring narrative of existence. And the best part? It requires absolutely zero external miracles. This naturally leads us to Section 3, a universe without metaphysics. So what actually happens when we completely remove the concept of external creators from our worldview? Well, the NSK system explicitly rejects metaphysics, proving instead that everything we know is purely the result of emergence and something called temporary absolute truth, also known as Tawa. Now, emergence simply means that objects and systems don't have magical agency. They behave exactly as the underlying physical constraints force them to, from the tiniest subatomic vibrations to the formation of massive galaxies and even the complex neural networks in our own brains. Everything is just a highly complex, statistical scaling up of fundamental physical processes. When we realize that the universe operates purely unexplainable emergence, we kind of have to accept that there is no invisible hand intervening in our reality. Nobody is hitting pause on the laws of physics to grant a favor, alter an outcome, or orchestrate some grand hidden plan. The universe is incredibly dynamic, absolutely full of productive, evolutionary variants, but at the end of the day, it is ultimately a closed physical system. And that brings us to Section 4, the twist, radical self-responsibility. Now, here is a really fascinating twist in how we can actually use the insights of the NSK. Since these reflections are completely independent of the concrete details of the physics theories, we can now bring to life a religious belief based purely on the fact that there is no metaphysics and that everything is explainable. What does that mean for us? It implies that human beings must take their own lives much more strongly into their own hands, because there is no one out there who will balance the scales for you either right now or later on. There's no cosmic judge, no karma, and no higher power to fix our mistakes in some afterlife. We are left with this profound existential weight to take complete control of our own destinies.
Discovering the theory of everything doesn't rob our lives of purpose. Actually, scratch that. It just strips away the comfortable illusion that a higher power will provide that purpose for us. For centuries, humanity has outsourced its search for meaning to the mysterious and the unknown. But when the unknown becomes completely explainable, that outsourcing is simply no longer an option. The meaning of your life is entirely generated by what you choose to do, what you build, and what you experience in the time you have right now.
So, embracing the NSK Globa implies a radical shift where you become the sole architect of your existence. Knowing there is no metaphysical safety net means your actions today carry ultimate, permanent weight in the real world. It's a philosophy that shifts you from a passive observer waiting around for divine justice straight into an active, disciplined participant in reality. As we conclude this explainer, I want to leave you with this ultimate question of radical self-responsibility to ponder as you step back out into the world. If the universe is a beautifully complex, entirely self-generating engine and you are a conscious, emergent piece of it holding the pen to your own story, what are you going to write today? Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive, and I really hope this perspective brings a whole new level of clarity and focus to your own journey.